Hi, Lion Bunku here once more for the Blue Moon Investment Community. Welcome to our channel. So today we are going to be talking about investor versus entrepreneur. Investor versus entrepreneur. Why investment wins over entrepreneurship for most Cameroonians. Why investment wins over entrepreneurship for most Cameroonians. Stay tuned. If you have not subscribed, just go down to the subscription button and click on the subscribe you see down there so that you are part of us. Welcome back to the Blue Moon Investment Community channel. Welcome here right back. So as I mentioned before, today we are going to be talking about investor versus entrepreneur. Investor versus entrepreneur. Why investment wins over entrepreneurship for most Cameroonians. Why investment wins over entrepreneurship for most Cameroonians. So the gospel of entrepreneurship, which has been preached for the last 25 years, very highly, specifically in Cameroon, where I am based, is a false narrative. The gospel that everyone should become an entrepreneur is a false narrative. It's a false narrative. What we actually need is a few entrepreneurs, a few businesses, and everyone becoming an investor. In this way, we are all able to put our money in these few businesses, and these businesses turn that money and create wealth for both the entrepreneur and the investor. That's how we can create wealth. I'm saying most Cameroonians can build wealth equally as investors. Let a few create the businesses and let everyone invest in these businesses. And in that way, we can create prosperity for all. We can create wealth for all. So at the Blue Moon Investment Community, we are on the mission of creating 1 million Africans earning at least 1 million francs CFA a month as passive income. We are on a mission of making passive income a right. And the way we are achieving that is creating investors. And we are going to be advancing points why investment wins over entrepreneurship for most Cameroonians. Let's go. To begin, it will be important we have a common understanding about who is an investor and who is an entrepreneur. So who is an investor? An investor is an individual or an entity who allocates capital to various assets with the expectation of generating returns over time. An individual or an entity who allocates capital to various assets with the expectations of generating returns over time. So these assets could be stocks, bonds, land, ventures, and so on. And he expects that these things is going to give him money, generate returns over time. So that's who an investor is. On the other hand, an entrepreneur is a person who creates businesses, who manages the risks of these businesses, who often come out with innovative products and services. Towards their focus, an investor focuses on financial returns and capital growth. That's the focus of an investor. He wants to make profit by strategically allocating capital to different assets. So he wants to make profit by strategically allocating capital to different assets, and he's focused on the returns that comes from these assets, and he's also focused on the capital growth that comes with these assets. On the other hand, an entrepreneur focuses on business creation. He focuses on operations management. An entrepreneur focuses on solving problems for different people and getting paid for solving these problems. So you see that there's some operational management in the duties of an entrepreneur, in the focus of an entrepreneur. With this understanding of who an investor is and who an entrepreneur is, I'll be advancing a couple of points on why investment wins over entrepreneurship. Point number one, time commitment. Investors generally play a passive role. They will only take out a few moments of their time to do research and do some monitoring. So they do research, allocate their capital to these assets, and they spend the rest of their time doing monitoring. So it is quite a passive role, as opposed to entrepreneurship. With entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur plays a very active role. It often requires long hours of full-time work, overtime work. You got to be there. You got to be active. So your commitment is so deep. So when you compare these two, you see that based on the common molding role of a man, it's easier to be an investor than an entrepreneur. Point number 2, I want to talk about risks. Risks. So you see that, of course, an investor risks capital. But this capital is often put in different asset classes. So there's the element of diversification in such a way that if one fails, the other may succeed and balance up for the one that fails. So you see that there is diversification. An investor risks capital, but there's diversification. On the other hand, when you look at an entrepreneur, he risks not just capital. He risks his time. He risks his commitment. He risks just everything, his relationship. And most at times, all this is put into one venture, because one venture needs you to put all this commitment, time, money over a period of time. So there is no diversification here. So if this business gets to fail, you can imagine what happens. He will lose relationship, he loses money, he loses time, he cannot redeem. And 95% of these businesses in the area where I am get to fail. So you can imagine how many entrepreneurs are in pains. How many entrepreneurs are in pains because their endeavors fail. All this investment they have done into one venture get to fail at the end. Number 3, I want to talk about the involvement. The involvement. You see that with investment, all you need is from time to time to be monitoring the performance of your investment in the different asset classes. So it's not that engaging. It's not that involving. You can do many other things. But with entrepreneurship, you need to be the architect, you need to be there, you need to carry out the operational management of this business, the day-to-day overseeing of this business, minute to minute, hour to hour. This is so engaging. This is so engaging. And it's not what most Cameroonians can afford to do. In which case, I'm talking about the stress involved this time. So with this engagement comes a lot of stress. A lot of stress for the entrepreneur. Today, a staff is quitting. Tomorrow, the landlord is asking you to leave the premise. After tomorrow, the tax officers are there for control, and so on and so forth. So it's daily stress that requires your minute-by-minute commitment. Especially at the start of the business, it's not easy at all. It's not what we should ask every citizen of a nation to become. The next point I want to talk about is skill requirement. Skill requirement. So with investment, there are just a few skills. You need to understand the basics of investing, understand risks, management, the different asset classes, and just a few things and you are good to go. But with entrepreneurship, it's like a school of life where you have to learn just everything. From human resource, to marketing, to operations, to accounting, to just everything, to taxation, to the economy, to even everything that an investor needs to know and more. And what still, even when the business is successful and move from one level to another, each stage in the business is a whole new school. So many things you have to learn, so many. It's overwhelming, it's quite overwhelming. And it's not the path that every citizen of a country can take. So am I saying entrepreneurship is not important and people should not become entrepreneurs? Oh no, don't get me wrong. Entrepreneurs are the real heroes of every nation. They are heroes without a red carpet. I believe they are not even celebrated enough in different nations. Every nation needs entrepreneurs because these are problem solvers. They of course create wealth. But all I'm saying is that entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's not the path that any government will want all of its citizens to become. Because of the stress, because of the work-life imbalance it creates, because of the challenges and the difficulties. This is a necessity in every nation, but it's not a path for everyone. That's just all I'm saying. There are other paths to creating wealth. Becoming investors, we can be partaking in helping the entrepreneur create wealth for everybody, for the country, and for the community. So I'm saying we need a few people to become entrepreneurs because this is a calling. This is a calling. These are people we should celebrate. This is a quite challenging and stressful path, and it's not meant for everybody. So why a few people become these entrepreneurs? The rest of the citizens can partake, can contribute, can make it less stressful for them by becoming investors. And in this way, we build prosperity for the nation. We build prosperity for the continent. And all of us play a role in creating wealth for all of us. So that's what I'm advocating for. Sometimes people confuse entrepreneurship and investment. They believe the other way to invest is maybe to start a business. But what I'm saying is that starting a business is not for everybody. It's quite stressful. It will test your stamina and everything about you. And if you see that's not for you, let's become an investor. Become an investor. And that's what the Blue Moon Investment Community is all about. We are here to help you from the beginning. If you know nothing about investment, we will carry you through to the level where you can make at least $1 million francs a month every year. So if you go on the chat below, if you go on the comment section, you will see our link to joining the Blue Moon Investment Community, and you will see our different investment solutions. You can become part of us. We can mold you into an investor, at least if entrepreneurship, you don't see it as a path to follow because of its stress and challenges.